The U.S. Open Cup keeps hope alive. Chile do the same in the Confederations Cup. LAFC's theoretical roster continues to theoretically expand. The transfer market continues to thrive. Surprisingly favorable contracts in Russia, and witch doctors in the Portuguese Liga. It's Thursday, June 29th, which means happy birthday to former Sunderland midfielder Jan Mvila. He's currently employed by Ruben Kazan. More on Russian clubs later. But for now, from Dirty Tackle, Howler Magazine, and the Total Soccer Show, this is The Goalmouth, your daily serving of bite-sized soccer news. Up first, the U.S. Open Cup semifinals will feature at least one second division side, as both Miami FC and FC Cincinnati booked passage to the quarterfinal round, where they drew each other. Miami eliminated Atlanta United 3-2, while Cincinnati took the Chicago Fire to penalties, eventually coming away with a home victory. Miami got their win thanks to a goal from striker Kwadwo Opoku. That goal came 3 minutes into injury time. You can find a link to that video in today's Goalmouth email. Meanwhile, Cincinnati came close to the all-time U.S. Open Cup attendance record, with 32,287 fans packing in for the match against Chicago. Seattle still holds the top spot with 35,615 turning up to watch the Sounders win the 2011 U.S. Open Cup final. With all that said, the most impressive numbers were put up by Cincinnati goalkeeper Mitch Hildebrandt. After making 10 saves in regulation, the 28-year-old goalkeeper pulled off 3 stops in the shootout to send his team to the next round. So congrats to FC Cincinnati, and simultaneously commiserations to FC Cincinnati, because I'm pretty sure some MLS teams are about to start calling with a variety of offers for a variety of players. I'm thinking maybe the best course of action here for FC Cincinnati is that the front office should maybe leave the phone off the hook for the next few days, just to be safe. Continuing with tournament news, Chile eliminated Portugal from the 2017 Confederations Cup and secured their place in the final courtesy of a penalty shootout victory. Manchester City goalkeeper Claudio Bravo saved all 3 of Portugal's penalties as the South Americans booked passage to their 3rd tournament final in 3 years. Chile were, in my opinion, the rightful victors. They hit the woodwork twice in the dying seconds and should have had a penalty in extra time. Substitute midfielder Fernando Silva went down in Portugal's penalty box within seconds of coming on, but no call was given by the referee, and some players were even gesturing for Silva to be booked for diving. The commentator on my feed was doing the exact same thing. However, replays revealed that defender Jose Font stepped on the Chilean's foot as he streaked into the box, so it seems like it could have been a penalty if only there was some sort of video replay system in effect to help us determine these things. But in the end, it was a classic case of ball don't lie, as Chile did eventually win in that penalty shootout, courtesy of the aforementioned heroics of Manchester City goalkeeper Claudio Bravo. He saved all 3 of Portugal's penalty attempts. They came from Ricardo Quaresma, João Moutinho, and Nani, who looked for all the world like a man who did not want to be taking the decisive penalty, and his attempt showed that. So well done to Claudio Bravo. And one man who was not surprised by the goalkeeper's heroics was Claudio Bravo. According to Arturo Vidal, quote, "Bravo said he was going to stop at least 2 or 3 penalties so we could all be calm. Well, he did it," end quote. Transfer news now. Dutch international Wesley Sneijder is reportedly close to agreeing to a 2-year deal with MLS expansion side LAFC. According to ESPN, quote, "Sneijder, 33, still has 12 months to run out on his contract with Galatasaray, but with LAFC not due to start its MLS campaign until March, Sneijder would remain in Istanbul for the remainder of 2017 before moving to Los Angeles in the new year," end quote. So, with all that said, congrats to Wesley. He joins Andres Guardado, Javier Hernandez, Wayne Rooney, Carlos Vela, and Zlatan Ibrahimovic as players that will, according to various websites at various times, definitely be signing for LAFC in the near future, and will be playing under managers Jurgen Klinsmann, Bob Bradley, and Guillermo Barros-Schelotto. Should be a good rumor-filled team. Speaking of Galatasaray, it seems that they have signed former Swansea City striker Bafétembi Gomes, who loves his Panther celebration. The Turkish Super League club is affectionately known as the Lions, so expect Gomes' goal celebration to be exceedingly popular in Istanbul, even if, as Google tells me, those 2 cats aren't so closely related. More transfer news. Bayern Munich have reportedly dropped their interest in Arsenal attacker Alexis Sanchez. Cue sigh of relief from concerned Arsenal fans. However, it seems Bayern's dropped interest directly relates to reports that Manchester City are set to offer boatloads of cash in an effort to sign the Chilean. Cue nervous sighs from Arsenal fans. Speaking of Manchester City, former goalkeeper Willy Caballero is expected to sign for Chelsea, so congrats to him for continuing to get paid a lot of money to sit on the bench. Over in Russia, Zenit St. Petersburg and their new manager Roberto Mancini have signed Russia teammates Alexander Erokin and Dmitry Polos. The two played in all 3 of Russia's Confederations Cup games and in the Champions League last season with Rostov. Now, that isn't really that surprising since Zenit have repeatedly rated the cash-strapped Rostov for talent. What is slightly odd, however, is that both players were under contract through 2019, and yet both players moved for a free, with it generally being reported that their contracts had expired. So, Contracts through 2019, but everyone's saying their contracts had expired. So that means either 1, Rostov let the 2 assets out of their contracts for no obvious reasons, 2, something shady is afoot, or 3, and this genuinely seems to be the most likely based on the reports I've seen, both Aerokin and Polos had unilateral cancellation clauses in their contracts, meaning that they could negate the deal at a moment's notice. So they could play for Rostov until they didn't want to anymore and then say, nah, I'm good now. So it's either that or some sort of nefarious behind-the-scenes deal that probably isn't legal by FIFA standards. Then again, it's Russia, so what are the chances that that's the case? Speaking of strange situations, over in Portugal, FC Porto have alleged that Benfica bribed officials and bought referees en route to their 2017 title. Most notably, Porto claimed that they have access to emails which confirm that Benfica spent €70,000 on witchcraft last season to help them win the Liga. According to journalist Jan Hagen, quote, Porto claimed Benfica have been using a witch doctor from Bissau Guinea, Dr. Naga, regularly over the last seasons to help them on the pitch. Benfica contacted witch Dr. Naga ahead of their Champions League clash versus Dortmund, which they lost 4-0, according to Porto, end quote. So, not the greatest of results there, but, maybe he was just having an off day. Porto's allegations are under investigation, and Benfica, not surprisingly, have denied the allegations and threatened to move forward with criminal prosecution of their own. One thing is for certain, that witch doctor might be the only man in Portugal who isn't represented by super agent George Mendes, because if he were, you can bet Benfica would have had to allegedly pay at least 10 times the asking price for his services. And with that, we've come to the end of yet another Goalmouth episode. You can explore all these stories in more depth by subscribing to our newsletter. The link is in the show notes. I've been Taylor Rockwell. Ryan Bailey will be with you tomorrow. But until then, I'll leave you with today's Goalmouth top tip. A witch doctor might seem like a good idea, but there's really no substitute for good old-fashioned bribery.